Lothar, thank you so much for joining me here at LSI Europe. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing, the company you're with.
Hi, Nick. First of all, thanks for inviting me to this interview. My name is Lothar Krinke. I'm the CEO of Newronika. I've been on board for about 4 months, but the company has been founded more than 5 years ago. And what Newronika has been doing is build the world's most advanced deep brain stimulation system for the treatment of Parkinson's disease. And I'm very excited about this. If you don't know what deep brain stimulation is, I can explain this a little bit more, but you might have heard about the field of brain-computer interfaces or brain-device interfaces. So that's what we really have. We have a bidirectional device that is implanted in the patient and can measure brain signals and deliver electricity to the human brain.
So I do hear the term BCI, brain-computer interface. It's a bit of a buzzword. How is your technology different than a BCI if it's not one?
Well, we would argue it is a brain-device interface. Now there's a computer as well, so you could call it a brain-computer interface. The way I would describe it is brain-computer interfaces or brain-device interfaces is really a technology field that can be applied to anything from non-invasive to invasive ways to monitor brain activity and then really translate intent, for example, from the human brain into some kind of action. What we have is a bidirectional device where we measure brain activity that then automatically interprets that brain activity to better treat Parkinson's disease through a system that then also automatically delivers electricity to the human brain at the right amount, no more, no less, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. So truly personalized medicine.
Neuromodulation, it's been around for a while now to treat a variety of different things from chronic pain to depression. What makes your technology sort of the next generation or next step in neuromodulation, BCI?
Yes, so neurotech or neuromodulation is really where cardiophysiology or pacemakers were about 20 years ago. More than 20 years ago, it became clear that to make the next generation better cardiac pacemaker, you had to integrate electrophysiology and activity sensors. So a pacemaker today, or an ICD, does not pace all the time. It paces when the heart needs it. It's the same concept for the brain, except the neurophysiology of the brain is probably 1 billion times more complicated than the heart. But fundamentally, it's the same idea. We integrate sensors, interpret the brain signals, and then adjust therapy based on that. Just like a pacemaker will only pace when the patients need it.
So what's sort of the unmet need that Newronika is addressing with its technology?
So yeah, we're going after an existing market. Deep brain stimulation is a $1 billion market today with 3 of the major medtech companies involved in it. However, the problem is that only 15% of patients with Parkinson's that are perfect candidates for this therapy receive the therapy today. And in the other indications, epilepsy, it's probably less than 1% penetrated. So why is that? It is because DBS works really well for a patient, but not all the time. So the therapy effect fluctuates throughout the day. There are also stimulation-induced side effects, just like if a pacemaker paces all the time, you get heart failure, right? And so that's the problem we're trying to address by automatically adjusting the stimulation to what the patient needs in that minute. We solve that problem of that fluctuation. We have clinical data that proves that the concept works. On top of that, today, a neurologist uses trial and error to program a device, which is complicated because these modern devices have 16, soon 32 individual contexts. So imagine you have to try them all out. Mm-hmm. Now we have a biomarker that we can measure that predicts which stimulation contact to turn on and also at what power. So we really automate the workflow for the neurologist and make it really based on a diagnostic, if you will, rather than trial and error.
Is that biomarker proprietary to Newronika?
No, the biomarker itself is not. It has been known for a long time that this biomarker is called you measure local field potentials in a specific band, the beta band, and you calculate the power, and it is associated with the symptoms of Parkinson's. Other people have known this, other people have measured it. Our proprietary technology is around how we filter this brain technology, right? There's all these brain signals going on, and you stimulate, and the way that we implemented filtering technology to detect this signal, that's proprietary. And then our algorithm is different than the algorithms that, for example, Medtronic is using. We have a proportional control algorithm. They have a different algorithm. There's other patents as well. So the biomarker itself is not. It's well accepted, which in many ways is a good thing. But the way that we're implementing it is proprietary.
Tell me a little bit about what stage Newronika is at right now. Are you commercial, preclinical? Where are you guys right now?
Well, if anyone listens who is an investor and wants to give us $30 million or euros, right now that's all about the same. That's what we're looking for. We need $30 million to complete our US pivotal trial. We want to get FDA approval. The system today is CE marked, but in conventional mode. So this adaptive mode that I talked about, the automaticity is not approved. The sensing is, but not the automaticity. We are filing as we speak for CE mark. We do have clinical data, but it's really feasibility clinical data. So $30 million in a couple of years, and we will likely going to have FDA approval. We have filed for an IDE, and about a third of the 30 million will go directly to the clinical trial, another third to develop our next generation technology, and the other third is for everything else that you need to run a company, such as facilities, IP, and that kind of stuff. But $30 million, launch in Europe 2025, in the US 2027.
What does sort of the future look like for Newronika? You mentioned Parkinson's disease. Is that where you're starting?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for this question, because people sometimes think, well, it's just Parkinson's, not that big. By the way, Parkinson's is actually a big disorder. There is more than 1 million Parkinson's patients in the US, growing to 1.6 million in the next couple of years. And in Europe, it's already over 1 million. So there's probably more than 3 million Parkinson's patients in the developed world. So it's a pretty big market. And if you look at the total addressable market, it far exceeds $10 billion. Now, today it's $1 billion market, but it could be. The other indications that are of particular interest to us are epilepsy. Other companies have DBS approved for epilepsy, even sort of a closed loop system from a company called Neurobase. So our technology is perfectly suitable for epilepsy. That, of course, would require, again, additional capital investment, but technically the hardware is the same. It's just would be different firmware, different clinical evidence. Epilepsy would be next. And you mentioned depression earlier. Others are investing heavily right now in deep brain stimulation for depression. I just spent 5 years before coming to Newronika in the psychiatric space. It's hard because it's not just the technology. You also have to convince psychiatrists to accept brain implants. But it's possible. I'm very hopeful that depression will be a future indication.
So it sounds like you're here at LSI Europe to meet with investors, potentially strategic partners. How is that going? Do you have a bunch of meetings lined up? Is it looking promising?
Yeah, and it looks promising. I mean, we have the round is partially subscribed to, but we need someone to write the big check to be the lead for this investment. We have a lot of people that would join the syndicate, including our existing investors, of course. We also have some grants. So how is it going? Well, it's no secret that fundraising would have been a whole lot easier last year, given the economic situation. But I'm really optimistic that we will close a round. And we also have particular interest from some of the strategics already to collaborate or do a deal.
That's exciting. I'm hopeful that you guys will be able to do so soon. Lothar, is there anything else you want to share with us about your company, what you guys are doing, your mission?
I think it's a broader mission. While brain-device interfaces are sort of a cool technology, what is always an issue when you talk about deep brain stimulation, that patients don't know about it, right? It's only 15% of patients with Parkinson's that get that therapy today. And if you ask people what are the treatment options, they don't think about deep brain stimulation. Now, if someone has a cardiac problem, bradycardia, everyone's getting a pacemaker, right? 95% of patients with bradycardia get a pacemaker. So, one challenge out there is we really need to educate patients and neurologists that this is a treatment option that has amazing results. Already, conventional DBS works very well. We are making it even better. It should be really standard of care.
You mentioned awareness is a problem. Are alternative means or standard of care also sort of creating resistance to deep brain stimulation and this type of technology?
Yeah, so sometimes, full disclosure, I also for 5 years ran Medtronic's deep brain stimulation business. People always think the pharmaceutical companies are the competition, right? Because they have medication and of course, first, before you get a brain implant, you try some medication. But to me, it's actually not the pharmaceutical companies that are the hurdle. It really is the inaction of neurologists that are not sufficiently educated to prescribe this therapy. So, when I still think about this, and I've been saying that for the last 10 years, it's almost unconscionable not to give patient at least the opportunity to evaluate whether they're a good candidate for deep brain stimulation. So that's my battle cry. This is my social message. We have the tools to help more Parkinson's patients, and we can reduce the socioeconomic cost of neurodegenerative diseases. The way that I'm thinking about this is that we will create direct interactions with the patients. So our device throws off or delivers personalized brain sensing data. We're integrating this with wearable data. So that actually allows us to develop a relationship with a patient. And if I learned something about having been in this space, really in the medical device space, is patients are the best ambassadors to tell other patients that there are treatment options.
This has all been incredible. What drives your passion at the end of the day?
Yes, so look, what can be more intimate than studying each other's brain? Your brain is where your personality is. And that's so exciting to me. It is the frontier, it's the opportunity, it's the privilege to study how human thought works, how we interact with each other. And that big vision, this challenge, is so exciting that it overrides all stress you might have in fundraising and all the things that happen day to day running a company. We are studying the human brain, and we'll discover a lot over the next decade.
Lothar, thank you so much for coming by for this interview and for being an innovator here at LSI Europe.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick.